of victory and the agony of defeat.
Madison, great ball around the corner, Penasini, he beats them all! Junior Polar out wide, bumped away from Trindle, Sharks coming through, none of them can hold this!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a live edition of the Tip Sheet podcast on a Tuesday night. Teamless Tuesday would be in the season, but we're still in the preseason. So joining me to break down all of the happenings for the Parramatta Eels and beyond is my good mate Sixties, also known as Craig. I'm your host John, also known as 4020. It's been a wild week of weather. It's been over 40, it's been under 20. We've had rain, we've had heat, we've had humidity, had everything in between. And a lot happening out at Kellyville and training, mate. So we're going to go through all that and more in another bumper episode of the Tip Sheet podcast. Got a lot to talk about with the juniors tonight. A bit to talk about with the Bears. They've made some signings, some decent pickup from a pair of pickups from Melbourne. Got some interesting happenings out of Manly. Some bad news of Paul Kent we'll touch on later as well. And we got more pushback on the rule changes. It's a busy docket as always, so thank you to everyone tuning in. Already had a chat with Scott Whitney in chat there, talking about the focus on juniors in the club. It was really good. I see Phil Eel, I see Warren. Who else got in there? There's Beacon, there's Ron, Matty Butcher's in there, Joel's in there as well. Good to have you on, Joel. Sonic's there as well. Sonic Boom there as well. So, yeah, Sonic's got one of the spoilers for the run sheet there with the re-signing of a Gun Young Junior there. In one of our forwards in Max Popo. We're going to talk about that very shortly. I've been rambling for a good minute now, mate, so I'm going to pass it over to you. How are you doing? I know we thought you were going to get some surgery today, but it got pushed back, so you've been able to join the podcast without any issues. How are you holding up?
Mate, as you were doing all the greetings then, it was taking me back to my childhood with Romper Room, and it was the lady would look through her looking glass at all the viewers, and I can see little Johnny and Mary and Craig, and is that you, Stephen? So what was it? Romper, bomper, stomper, voo. Tell me, do. Magic mirror, tell me today. Have all my friends had fun at play?
Jeez,
there you go. There's a memory for anyone that's in my age bracket.
The context of romper stomper can change very quickly depending on your media outlet there, can't it?
Yes, mate, and I'm going back to the TCT merch, the coffee cups that we had made last year. So we should, you and I, we've got a bit of work that we're going to be doing with merch.
Things are. I know we've been teasing this for a while, but things are now in place to really push that stuff. So we'll get that to you guys ASAP.
Yeah, absolutely, and can also just put it out there because maybe we'll get someone to start having a bit of a think about this, but we're looking at including a Supercoach column, a weekly Supercoach column this year as part of the TCT content. So if you're a Supercoach fanatic and you enjoy doing a little bit of writing about your tips for each week in terms of who's in, who's out, values, all that sort of stuff. I'm not a Supercoach aficionado, but I know a lot of people love playing it. So, get in touch with us. Let us know if that's something you're keen on to commit to a weekly roundup that can go on to TCT. And, we'd love to hear from you because it's an area that we'd like to be able to provide content on for our readers. So, bear that in mind. John, been a busy start to training this year, and we've got a little bit to catch people up on and a bit to talk about with regards to that in our Eels news. But apart from that, I think it's time to, of course, remind our viewers / listeners, no matter what platform you're on, if you can give us a like and subscribe. We really want to get to the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you're not yet subscribed, it would really do us a great favour if you could subscribe to the Cumberland Throw channel on YouTube, hit the notification bell and that as well, so you get notified when there's new content that's coming up. We will be possibly hitting at least 4 podcasts a week certainly during the junior rep season, because we'll have a dedicated junior rep.
Standalone reps podcast.
Standalone, yep. So we'll have our instant reaction, we'll have our news, we'll have our preview, we'll have our junior reps roundup and preview. So that's really taking it 4 days a week of podcast content, aside from the usual website content that's there on TCT. So, anyway, if you can give it a subscribe, that would be brilliant, because once you get to 1,000 subscribers, it allows us to get that little bit of extra content out there and be able to use the YouTube for a little bit more. Also, shout out to our sponsors, Star Partners Real Estate, Auburn, Narellan and Parramatta, and of course to the home of the Eels, Parramatta Leagues Club. And can I also give a shout out? I did it before Christmas, but I'll do it again now. The Paradise Cafe inside the Centre of Excellence. So we get a lot of people that are starting to come up and watch training from the balcony at the cafe. It's even if training's not on, it's a great cafe in the Hills District. No shortage of parking up there at the Centre of Excellence. They've got hot menu. They've got sandwiches and rolls and lots of drinks, and of course all the range of coffees that are there. So
I made the pilgrimage out to Kellyville this week. Geez, times.
It was this week, John.
Big wrap on the butter chicken pasty there. It was very tasty. So they got a really nice selection of things there. And that was even without looking at the hot food menu they had up top there. You pointed out to me they actually cook stuff too. And I was like, all right, that's good. So fair shout out there. And if you're a PLC member, you can use your card there as well. Get a nice little discount.
Get your member discount. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So shout out to the cafe. And as I said, you don't have to be going up there to watch training or anything like that. It's open 5 days a week, I believe, from 7 a.m. in the morning to about 3
Phil
PM.
in chat saying he's going to be at Kelly on Thursday for the members event. Yep, great chance to go to the cafe and get a feed or a drink there or both. And Warren saying that when he's with his bro, go there for a coffee and look. Yeah, make sure you have a good look at the facilities, Warren. The Centre of Excellence really is a beauty. So have fun sort of going in there and looking at all the 4 fields in their glory and the spectating facilities.
5 fields, mate.
Well, there is the 5th field up top too, but the 4 fields laid out in front of you there. Yes, as well as the training facilities, which you probably won't be able to see properly, but you can admire the building from the outside looking in. So, yeah, on that note.
Yep.
Oh, Neil says...
That stinger, John.
And Neil saying he had to miss the start to let Bohemian Rhapsody play out in the car before getting to the podcast. I understand. Absolute banger there. And speaking of bangers, here's our stinger for the news.
News team, assemble!
A lot to talk about still, isn't there, mate?
Absolutely. So, John, I think we're all low maxed out.
Well, not the media. The media are loving this one, but I think Eels fans are starting to get a bit of fatigue on the topic for sure.
Yeah, and that's really the point I wanted to make about this week. As far as this now becomes a matter for club executive to sort out. It's something that Eels fans will probably feel a certain amount of passion about, and we want the NRL to stay strong. But what you have to understand is the staff, the players, this is all behind them. They're not thinking about this at all, because to think about someone who's no longer with the club is wasted energy. So, and having not only reached that point myself, but hearing that as well around the place up there, I just thought, you know what? That's right.
He's as far as I'm concerned, Zack Lomax was a guest player for a year. Yeah, it was almost like a staycation with us. But this is the coach in the team that moved on from their talismanic captain, the reigning Ken Fournette medalist, and key prop forward in Reagan Campbell-Gillard, as well as a star winger and more. Like Zach, them it should not come as a surprise that internally the Eels are like, well, that's it, we're done. Like this isn't an issue for us now. Like obviously with the football department in terms of the signings logistics side of it, there is still stuff to maybe be extracted with value. But for Jason Riles and the players, they've moved on. Like if the moving on from Quinton Gufferson, Reagan Campbell-Gold, Makasivo and company didn't cause them to lose a stride, and in the big picture it didn't. Like you can talk about the slow start, but that was more a function of the overall roster churn, a new coach, and a young squad. But yeah, I'm not surprised at all to hear that Zack Lomax being gone is, well, okay, we're back to business.
Yeah, and that's basically what it is. They're in the business of preparing for 2026. That player isn't there. It's not really a talked about event, a talked about thing up there. You know, it's, as I said, that's there for club executive to sort out, probably for legal people to sort out. But as far as the roster and all that, no one wishes Zack Lomax any ill will up there, because he was a mate for the season, and he may well have made good friends.
Angst from fans is a very far thing from internally with the players. They would be far more amicable of what's happened.
Yeah, but the thing is, all of them are used to players moving on. He's a player who's moved on. That's the end of the discussion. And I think until such time as we find out what's happening, have some strong mail about what's happening, we'll make this maybe a Lomax-free zone, I reckon, John, because we're going to get...
There's only so many ways you can spin this plate, is there?
Yeah. Look, who knows what sort of stuff, whether Buzz Rothfield's making stuff up with Jack Howarth, or, what's going on. But you're going to get rumours that come up. As far as I'm concerned, the Storm aren't going to release anyone that's in their plans. So it'll be interesting to see how they work it out. But I'm not interested so much in any more rumours with it. I'm done. Let's just focus on getting ahead with the squad we've got, because I don't know that it's going to change too much now until someone comes along that the Eels specifically want.
Yeah, the player compensation is obviously the big hanging element here, and that's what we're going to be waiting for, any concrete evidence of something happening. And I don't know if you saw on Radio SEN, they had amusingly Lee Hadjipantelis on, and he was given a breakdown, because Lee, for all the issues that you can have with him as an operator of the West Tigers, is also a lawyer or a solicitor on the other side of things. And with that expertise into his name, he was sort of looking at how the Eels stand there and was saying that it seems to be the Eels are in a pretty solid position from a legal standpoint, that the restriction of trade doesn't really apply here, because there was like competitors in the market sort of thing, where he was given an opportunity to go pursue opportunities elsewhere, and that was a binding agreement in and of itself. So we have to wait and see. I think ultimately, if he does end up in Melbourne, there will probably be some form of compensation, but we can't really speak on that right now beyond Buzz's cheeky little some people having fun and chat with Lee. Yes, he might know in that regard. Yeah. I have to wait and see if there's something more concrete there. And the way the Eels have operated recently, you don't get too much of that from our end, but with Melbourne being the other party here, maybe they'll be more prone to put pressure on the media. I don't know. Maybe there'll be some names leaked. Maybe there'll be something there. But like you said, Zack Lomax, he's not an Eel. And the only real important issue now is for the Eels to extract some value out of the rights for him to play in the NRL. And until we get something to talk about there, I guess we just move on, because, like I said, Brian Kelly's coming to the squad now. We've got a bit of depth in the back line. We've got some young guys going to get some opportunities in cup football this year as well that we can talk about at some point. But for Zack Lomax, let's just move on for it.
Yeah, absolutely. John, just a bit of a training update. First of all, there is the open training session on Thursday,
which Phil was talking about in chat before. Yep. Yeah,
Eels members would have received an email about that. It's important to register for that, because it's just a matter of like all of the logistical arrangements that they make there. There could be a big difference between getting, say, 300 or 400 people and getting 2,000 or 3,000 that might want to turn up. It has a lot to do with how they, what sort of setup they have there, how much they have in the way of security. There's a whole lot of things that they need, that they like to be able to work out by having a rough idea of how many people are coming to that session. It starts at 9:30, goes through till about 1 with the training and autographs and that sort of thing. So, and they've got transport that's been organised. Check your email for all details. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of it here, but this is one of these sessions that the Eels had planned prior to the start of the competition. Of course, you've got there's the season launch, and there's the official one, and there's also the one at the stadium sort of. I guess it's like another meet and greet that's there at the stadium as well. So plenty of opportunities for Eels fans to interact with the players. I've written a bit lately, John, in the training reports about how good the squad and the staff are with supporters, how highly they value
some great pictures of the young fans being able to connect with players quite literally and get the picture there. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, one of the things that the coaching staff have been very instrumental in, and especially Scott Wisemantle, is he genuinely looks for if there's any young fans that are there to invite them to be part of the session in some way. Now, depending on the age of the kids that are there, sometimes he gets them to greet the players onto the field as they're coming down the ramp onto the training track. Sometimes during extras, he's got them to kick the balls back to the players when they're having their shots at their goal kicking. And it's, I guess, any way that they get to interact with the players is fantastic. None of that is planned. It's all spontaneous. You don't go down there and watch training and have any expectations, but they're really welcoming and respectful of supporters who are down there. And the only thing that's probably, this is just my personal thing, is sometimes at the meet and greets, you get the young ones that ask for the player's shirt or ask for the player's boots or what have you.
Yep.
The players are pretty good at giving it away where they can. And it's a bit tough to put some of the young ones on the spot because they might only get like a limited kit.
Yeah, I agree. There is a difference asking Junior Barloff for, admittedly, not too many people are going to really fit in his shorts because he's got the beastly hips, but yeah, asking the big fella for some of his kit versus asking, maybe even like a Sam Tuaiti, but obviously a Ryder Talangi or a young guy.
Well, probably a Lorenzo Talatona who's just doing an NRL preseason. Yeah, can I have your boots or can I have your?
Haven't got that lucrative ASICS contract that gives him dozens of boots every couple of weeks, wherever it is. But yeah. But yes.
So if you've got kids that are going up there, just remind them that not all the players have all this gear, and the players tend to be very generous if they've got gear there anyway. I saw Bailey Simonson give away his training shirt to young Harlem during the week last week, and that wasn't asked for. That was just Bailey giving him the shirt. Sometimes I've seen young ones down there watching, and players will come out of the sheds after they finish training with boots signed and just go over and hand it over to them without being asked for. They don't have to ask for these things all the time. They're generous where they can. These are not, the normal sessions aren't like Thursday. They're business. It's work as usual. Sometimes the players are going straight into the sheds and they might have something they've got to do straight away. Like last week, they did the outdoor field session and then went indoors for the defensive work. So they didn't have time to stop until after the defence session was over. Young Harlem, he and his mother stuck around till after they came out, probably 30, 40 minutes later. So Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to say about how good the players and staff had
Again,
been.
it's been
visitors there.
was a key mandate when going all the way back with the original chat that Adam Hawes had with Jason Riles, was about building this kind of culture of connectivity between the players and the fan base. So really glad to see that the Eels have stayed true to that across the, I suppose, it's over 12 months now, isn't it, that Jason's been here. So they're doing really good stuff there. And there's plenty of fans that you've been able to share the stories with, and you always talk about the Riley Smith story where that popped off on Instagram about him, taking time after training session to just...
No, it was after a game.
After a game to give some really good pointers on how a young man could tune up his game in order to be the best player he can. So really good stuff. And
that was young Harvey. Harvey.
Oh, it was Harvey too. Yeah. So
yeah. So Harvey and his father Keith were down at training the previous week, and they'd also had an opportunity to meet players in the dressing sheds after one of the matches, and it was I think it was a bit of a fluke situation too, where they just got invited, like they thought they were part of a bigger group, and they got invited to come in, and so met some of the players.
That's a memory for life, isn't it? Michael was saying, not so much of the Harvey thing here. Michael was saying that
went over.
You shouldn't ask players for gear, to be honest. This is a tough one, Michael, because I kind of understand where you're coming from, but then I think the trend was really started by players like JT and whatnot handing out gear at the end of games, which then sort of inspired people to ask for gear and whatnot. But I feel like when JT or Moses gives out his boots on like a post game, that's great. It does feel like you're infringing a bit sometimes when you're asking a player for gear. And then I think Neil was saying at the signing session last year that there was barely a player left with a shirt on, like in terms of kit, because they gave it all out last year. I can understand why a young boy or girl might ask their favorite player for some kit, but yeah, I suppose it's a difference of what's one look like, when the context of how you're raised and whatnot. Like for some people, they got no issue asking. Some people feel like, oh no, I shouldn't ask. So I suppose, it's one of those ones. The worst you can get is a no. But yeah, the kids are relentless, as MM points out. Yeah, I've seen some of the videos, and it gets pretty crazy at times. But yeah.
Well, look, I just want to give an example, right? So at the Fairfield open session, not the one that ran in December, but the year before, and there were lots of young ones that were asking for the gear from the younger players, and the younger players were saying, I can't.
Yeah.
I honestly can't. And they couldn't, and people wouldn't take no for an answer. And they're like,
I think that's the line, isn't it? If you ask, okay. If you get told no, then it's bad luck. And especially like you said,
sorry, John, I've got to take a call.
That's okay.
I've got to take a call.
Yeah, just we'll continue on this one.
Hello.
And there's Ron. Make sure his phone call's not coming on the screen.
Yes.
There we go. Give me 1 sec. I'll just put the big fella on. Where is he here? Oh, I'll mute him there. Okay. So when he comes back, I'll bring him back on. But yeah, to go to your point, Michael, I agree that in general it can be a bit too much. But as a young kid, if you ask once, you get told no. I think that's fair. But yeah, Ron, good to see you, mate. See, Jamie's asking the real questions here. I just want to ask him for a prem. Yeah, I think that's the one that really stings. But they're working on it. That's for sure. I'll go back to training. I was out there during the week, and I was fortuitous enough to be there when Brian Kelly had arrived. So it was his first training session, and it was an integration session for him where he wasn't on a full capacity or anything like that. But I thought it was a really poignant thing that he walked out from the sheds, or I say sheds, from the state-of-the-art Centre of Excellence, the open gym facility, onto the field, and he came out with Sean Russell. So it was kind of just a funny little poetic moment of the man that's leaving versus the man that's coming out together, and then having a good chat and good yak. And certainly the fellas made him feel very much at home very quickly. And it was good, very good. Tough conditions out there this week. I was only there for the one session, whereas Craig's obviously been out there far more consistently. But I tell you what, they were working hard. A few errors, but I think this was the session where Craig made his report talking about that he liked that some of the times the boys weren't pulling the trigger on the plays. I think in particular he cited Charlie Geimer and Joash Papali, a couple of plays they made where they didn't throw the pass, or they didn't pull the trigger on the option play, and it was the lack of decision there that impressed him. So, yeah, real good stuff there in that session. But, geez, it was tough out at Kellyville. I was in the shade up in the veranda there, Craig, and I can understand why the boys made a few mistakes on the session that I attended to, because that was before the 42, 43-degree weather, and it was still stiflingly hot.
Yeah. And look, I apologise. I'm probably going to get another call shortly. It's just Westmead Hospital ringing me. They're having a few issues around Mum. So
That's all.
they need my help with...
I've got plenty of ability to yak the chat. Don't worry, mate. So when you need to step away...
They're calling back. I was going to mention about Simonson and Madison, Nathan Hindmarsh up there today, so I'll come back to that.
Okay. So Craig's going to come back with that one there, so I'm not going to spoil anything there. Let me just bring him back and put him back on. I can do it here. There we go. Not server mute. Just mute him. Go. Pressing the wrong buttons, guys. So, Matty, what are you saying? You went to the last captain's run with my young fella and he started kicking back the footies to the players, and one of the trainers gave Archie the ball for helping. That's great. That's awesome, yeah. I feel like, as we were talking about before, the connectivity between the players and the fans is at an all-time high. And look, Brad Arthur wasn't bad in that regard, but Jason Rolls is just a cut above. Like, this is, as I said, a core mandate for him in creating that culture with the playing group and the fan base, and it's been really, really good to see. I've seen a little bit of it, but obviously Craig at the coalface has seen way more. But you hear all these stories, like of your young lad there, just of having those little moments with both the players and the trainers and the staff, and it builds lifelong memories. It goes, such a small act goes so far when it comes to building a core memory. So really, really good stuff there. I'm just trying to figure out what else I saw at training this week that I can share without spoiling Craig's stuff. So he's going to talk about Bailey Simonson, Ryan Madison. I know he's been getting asked a lot of questions about those two players. Bailey obviously coming back from, I think, was it a hammy? And then Matto's obviously just come back to the squad in general. So he'll give you updates on those two players. What did I see there? At training, when I went with the Brian Kelly one. So I was there when Mitchell Moses was just resting. It was just a rest day for Moses. He was out there on the sidelines, but with like no serious injury issues. But they let Jonah Pezzett and Joash run the show for the main team. And I think they rotated Lincoln Fletcher, Lorenzo Talatina, and Ronald Volkman on the opposing team, or the cup team. Sonic's asking, I'm interested to know how Lincoln Fletcher is a junior SG ball player who's been earning a couple of training world jerseys. He's been really good, Sonic. As good as you could ask for a player of his age bracket, you know, in his what was his junior year of eligibility for ball in 25. Coming in here, he's been at the top of the class for fitness. He's legitimately challenged and I think even beaten Riley Smith on the Broncos run. So he's doing some great stuff there. As a playmaker, he's looking good. So big things going to be expected of Lincoln this year. Same with Lorenzo. And it's like one of those ones where you don't want to put pressure on him as a fan, but the reality is that the pressure is going to be on him. Lorenzo is the reigning SG Ball Player of the Year. He played all the way through to a grand final qualifier in the New South Wales Cup. And Lincoln was his partner in crime in the SG Ball and was, you know, every bit a star young playmaker in that grade. So there will be big things expected of him, and how they handle those expectations is going to be part of that challenge moving towards the eventual, you'd hope, NRL debuts and beyond. And yeah, Joel just reinforcing there, he is very fit, and indeed he is one of the fittest guys in the extended squad there. And Neil, I do think they are wrapped up, and that'll be one of the talking points of obviously Max Popo coming up shortly. But obviously Lorenzo has been announced by the club. I think Lincoln's still got a few years on his contract, so they've done a pretty good job. As far as we've had our griefs with the club, we as a fan base have had our griefs with the club in years past about losing too many juniors. And like the reality is you're going to lose some juniors regardless. I think that they've done a pretty good job here with the young kids coming through from Matt's ball and the flag. So what do we got? Michael says, do you know if Kelly started preseason with the Titans? I believe he did, Michael. I think he did the pre-Christmas preseason and then has come to us on the other side of Christmas. So I'm not sure what that means for his fitness standards. It's a new coaching staff at the Titans, so I don't know how hard of a taskmaster Josh Hannay has been there. But Kelly was just doing his integration work this week with the squad. So Warren, we'll talk about Max in just a few minutes once Craig's back and has put the full cap on the training wrap-up. Neil saying, end of 27, I think you might be right there. Neil. I can't remember the official, because the club sometimes puts some stuff out in their junior socials as opposed to their main socials. And Craig is back. Something just unmute the big fella.
Sorry about that, everyone.
That's all right.
It's one of those things. Mum gets very scared, and the hospital was wondering, was I coming to the hospital today? I said, I've already been there.
It's 8 o'clock.
Unfortunately, yeah, when she gets really scared, she thinks things have happened to me, and she won't eat or drink or take her medication. And they just needed to put me on speakerphone.
Just to reassure
her, even though it was only a couple of hours ago that I was with her. Yeah. She's just immediately become frightened. So,
just to recap for you, mate, I was just having a yak with chat, and we talked about the session that I attended. So we talked about the going back to your initial break, the almost the poignant poetic nature of Brian Kelly coming out with Sean Russell from to open the session, just the player that's coming into the player he's eventually replacing, you'd think. We talked about how Lincoln Fletcher's faring, because I mentioned that Mitchell Moses had a rest day on the day I came out. Like he was literally there on the sidelines, all kitted up to train, but they just put him on ice. And we saw obviously Joe Ash and Jonah run the main team, but we saw a combination of Lincoln, Lorenzo, and Ronald Volkman running the Cup proposed team. And we sort of talked about Lincoln's fitness levels. You mentioned that he had a great run in the Broncos run earlier, so in your training report.
Yeah,
so we're talking about that. Yeah, managed to pip Riley Smith, which is a hell of an effort. So we're talking about that. Had a good yak there.
Yep.
And then Phil's asking, interesting reading that Samarani's training on the right wing. That probably gives us a nice tee off to talk about the final parts of the training reports, because you're going to update us on Bailey Simonson, Ryan Madison, as well as a former Eels legend that was in attendance. And there's our Tour de Para winners as well. So we could throw in Jordan Samarani updating that as well, I imagine.
Yeah, look, Jordan's been fitting in on the wing. He also has played a little bit of centre. But that's, of course, been a scenario where you've had Bailey Simonson out, and Bailey's now coming back into the opposed work. He's not quite full training. He's very, very close. I don't normally like to talk about the details of rehab, because it's not an area of expertise for me, and I don't represent the club. So I have to be very careful how I tread there, and I try to avoid it normally in training reports. However, with Bailey and with Ryan, their involvement in doing rehab has been pretty well publicised. People know that they've been doing rehab. People that have been to the open training sessions have seen that those players have been doing rehab work. But they're now at the point where they're starting to come in and join in the main squad with the work. So we had Bailey playing on the right wing today, and sort of interchanging with Jordan in that regard. So they'd swap over in the drills. So one would come in, one goes out. So it was it's starting to build up that time that Bailey Simonson's getting involved there. Likewise, Ryan Madison's just starting as well to get involved with the team drills, rather than being involved in a rehab group running or being in the gym. So he's just coming out. He's not doing the full session. Just like when players first come back to training from their holidays, the ones that are the latter that join the group after the group's been there for a while, they ease them in. They don't throw them into the rest of the group when the rest of the group is, say, 3, 4, 5 weeks into the pre-season, with their conditioning, with all the drills that they've been working on. They're not as familiar with anything new that's been introduced if they've only just come back. So they have to ease them in. It was the same that's pretty much happened with Brian Kelly. He's been eased in as well. What's going to be interesting is that competition for places, because Brian Kelly has now introduced competition.
Yes, and it's been it was obviously a real need for the squad to bolster its backline depth. But part of the reason why we were keen on Brian Kelly is that he wasn't just a replacement level player. Like, certainly he has issues historically with his defense that you would hope that we can coach up, but he brings the ability to be a really plus level attacking player. And I think that is important when you're having a player come in, not just being a backup, but can actually offer you something of value as a proposition to play as a starter. So, yeah, really keen to see what Kelly can do as he gets integrated with the club. But it's been a nice gradual process this week. They haven't rushed him in, and they've certainly, for all our concerns about backline depth, they've had enough players to get out there and do a good showing out there. I mean, Will Penasini was very sharp in the session that I attended, Craig. He had a couple of really nice tip-ons to the schnoz out wide to Samarani. And goodness, the Fox, again, what a hype man. The drill that the backs are doing in front of us with the finishing in the corner, he was the hype man there. I tell you what, Moe Al-Madine had a great moment at the end of it where the Fox was getting really pumped up to win the game in the corner, and he came through.
Yeah, and even at the start of this week, the Fox has himself just been doing a little bit of rehab. And I should mention, I'll say that word rehab, but players go in and out of that group all the time in pre-season. It might be a bit of muscle tightness. It might be the slightest little niggle. They've got no need to have them out there training with everyone else. This is the pre-season. It's not the season proper. The season proper, they'd probably be part of training and play because it's the season. Players play with niggles through the season. They don't need to in the pre-season. So they just make sure that everyone's not, I guess you'd almost call it preventative as well. They make sure that they're not in a position where they aggravate something that they're having a slight problem with now. They just make sure they're 100% to go again, and they go again. It's been a big group of that in this week. Players that have maybe having their workload managed.
Yep.
Moses has been doing sideline stuff this week. The Fox. There's obviously Junior still in his rehab journey. There's Hopgood's been in and out of doing that as well. It's been a host of them that have
like Josh was saying in chat. It's the term you hear a lot of physios and sports trainers use is prehab. That what you're doing now, the steps you take both in terms of load management and the work you're doing to build them up keeps them fresh now. But then I think again I've had a chat with Matty Stewart about this, who's tied to our juniors. And the data behind it points towards a huge spike in health, a positive spike in health if you can complete your preseason. So that's why they're so careful from, and they don't want to force, it's not like back in the days where you had a niggle, you just push through it, and then you go have a cigarette and a beer at the pub. There's a lot of science here, and they're doing a very good job. So it's
So John, I wanted to mention was when they finished the session yesterday. Out came the Fox to work with Moe and a couple of other cup players just on their defensive position. So he'd come out to the sideline as they were getting close to it, and out he came during extras and got involved with the younger players and coaching them. And this is exactly what we saw last pre-season, that he took some of the younger players aside. He spent a bit of time with Arthur Miller-Stephen last year. With a couple of the other younger players as well. Dom Ferrugia, he spent a bit of time with him. So he's very much the senior player, the mentor, and takes that role seriously. So the Fox, he's the hype man, as you said. He brings that energy to training. Today, when he was watching a lot of the session, to be fair, because you could hear his voice calling out to the players as they were going through the drills. And he's not just that, he's also the public relations. He's always looking out for the fans, and it's almost like nothing is too much for him. Yeah. And he makes every fan feel like he knows them. Yeah, he greets them in such a way that you'd think, he's spoken to them a dozen times or more before. He knows
they
who
also
they
go.
are.
They also go back a few, like at least a few sessions here. But no, it's just that's him.
Yeah, that's just how he is. John, the other thing too, we had the shirts for this week because you mentioned about Will Penasini, and he was one of the shirt winners this week. So he was involved. He the green shirt was what he took home. Well, that he's wearing this week, and of course the green is that that power and pace, like playing with power and pace.
It's a sprinter's jersey in the Tour de France, so it makes sense that combination of pace and power, the things that make sprinting or acceleration, come together. So it's a good fit. And yeah, when I was there in attendance for, what day did they go, Craig? Was it a Tuesday?
No, it was
Thursday?
later in the week.
It was Thursday, right?
Thursday. It was Thursday.
Yeah, when I was in attendance on Thursday, Will had a really nice session. Some really deft touches getting the ball to Jordan Samrani. And that I think that's one of the areas that fans have been hoping could really develop for Will, is just that little touch getting to his outside man. Because he's got
that quick pass / tap on.
Yes, yeah, the tip on, the quick hands, because he's got the power. He's not a speedy centre, but he's got enough speed to make breaks and beat a man. He's got like those other aspects of his game. If he can get the pass, get the finesse part of feeding the ball to his outside man, I think you're sort of looking at Will, like not necessarily being a representative centre, but that is like the big thing, like the big skill set unlocked for him to be considered a rep tier centre. So it was really good to see, and hopefully it carries through to obviously the regular season.
Yeah, it was no surprise to see Jack de Belin in the spots. Been getting a lot of good mail about just how well he's been already received and respected by his teammates. Like I describe watching what he does as it's like watching a total professional out there, and it's my understanding that he's like that with the group. Plus, he's just a good bloke. They enjoy his company, and he's fitted in very, very quickly. I think he's got a point to prove this year, Jack de Belin. I think he's going to end up being a really, really good signing. So he got the spots, and of course the spots are that team first attitude and doing the tough yards, the hard yards as well. The white
been a standard setter in the gym as well, from what we understand too. So he's brought the old man strength to the franchise, so it's good.
Yep, the white, which is the strength one, and it's a lot of the work that's done in the gym, gets this particular shirt, Lincoln Fletcher. Now, when we were a couple of us were chatting before the session, and I'd said, I wouldn't be surprised if Lincoln picks up one of the shirts. I must admit, the white wasn't
not what you're anticipating. No,
no, because it is a gym one, so I couldn't even comment on it. But it just shows that attitude that we see out on the field, he obviously carries it into his work in the gym as well. So he's really benefited from this preseason. I'm expecting. I have not heard a thing about what the plan is, but I'm expecting that he'd be likely to start in Jersey Flegg this season, because you're looking at the potential of having the older fellas. Well, I don't know if you can call Papali'i or Ronald Volkman old. Slightly more experienced players playing New South Wales Cup in the halves, and in all likelihood, I would have thought Lincoln Fletcher and Lorenzo Talataina in the Flegg as the halves pairing, and you'd have to think that's a mighty halves pairing for Jersey Flegg. And it'll be an interesting call, because Lorenzo ended up playing, what was it, about 8 games or something like that,
all the way through to a New South Wales Cup grand final qualifier.
New South Wales Cup.
Yeah.
So maybe it was 10 games. I was thinking 8. It might be 10.
Anyway, I'll again while we're yapping about this. I'll see if I can pull up, because he got a shout out from the New South Wales Rugby League Twitter account this week. So
yes, So he had a slightly interrupted preseason. He had a little bit of a niggle just before Christmas. So he missed a week or two, but he's back in training now. And of course, we mentioned Will Penasini getting the green. So
8 games, by the way. 8 games.
8 games. So yeah, it was right off the top of my head. So okay. Look, I think we'll move on, John, because we've got some Eels news to get through. We've had a little bit of a disruption and my apologies for that.
How dare you? How dare you?
No, but when I get a call from the hospital, and look, I do have to take it.
It's a priority answer. But we had a bit of social media, bit of good news on social media. Pacific Sports Management, mate. They put out an Instagram post.
Yes, Max Popo, 3-year extension with the club. Now, a lot of the fans that follow the pathways will be really, really pleased to know that, because Max is very much a player of the future with the Eels. He really is starting to become a leading light as a forward. Yeah. And we're talking about the crop of forwards that are coming through at the Eels. There will come a time where they can't keep everyone. That just becomes a matter of course. But I'm less concerned about forward recruitment because of that.
The equation is definitely, and I was talking about this with at the start of the podcast with Scott Whitney. He went back and listened to a podcast we had of Joey Grimer back in 24, and talking about the systems that he put in place with Brian Smith and through to this era, and the importance of junior development. You can see the needle swinging back that way for Parramatta. I think Mark O'Neill has made a point of it too when he's been on our show or in the press talking about being a development club. And that's not to say you can't sign players, because Warren was pointing out that you still need to sign players. That's absolutely true. But yeah, they've got a bumper crop of kids coming through, and I think that's really their mission statement, and they're carrying out on it, which is what you want to see. It's one thing to say you're a development club, but you got to put the players' runs on the board, and I think they're now poised to do that. We've seen some smart recruitment give them extra resources that the NRL weren't necessarily anticipating this time last year. We already talked about those guys ad nauseum in the likes of Katonga and Sam Rani and Papa Lee and whatnot, but there is now another wave, and it's not just a singular wave. I think there's a couple of waves of kids now ready to come through that the club are positioning themselves to retain, develop, and build a really competitive group with.
Yeah, and they really are supplementing that with junior recruits far and wide as well. So they've got some great juniors that are local products. Plus, they've also drawn in players from outside the district. Now, we've had young Nathan Coyner that joined from the Broncos.
Jackson, his dad
Jackson Coyner.
His dad was Nathan. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. This is the trouble when he's, I guess, in a way, he's sort of a third generation there.
Yes,
because
yeah.
Nathan, his father, was his father. His Nathan's father-in-law was Mel McMartin, who just passed away, and we also should send our condolences to the family of Mel McMartin. He's was the twin brother of Johnny McMartin, and Mal was. I got to spend a bit of time with Mal at BGA Christmas drinks, and he was a player who played the what's that term again for it, where they continue playing the Masters.
Yeah.
So he was playing Masters rugby.
Yeah.
Like to quite an older age, and let me know he was going pretty well at it too. His success in business, and still had that passion for the Eels. And he's a wonderful bloke to sit and have a chat and a beer with. So it was very sad to hear of his passing. So as I said, I extend our sympathies to the family. But as I previously mentioned, it's sort of that three generation there, because you've got Mal, you've got Nathan Coyner, his son-in-law, and then you got Mal's grandson in Jackson Coyner. So, as I said, recruits like Jackson Coyner and like the other one that's just been announced by the Mole, who picked it up off the sports, I think Pacific Sports again, sports management. Sterling Mataniu Famui. You might be better at that than I am, John. You have a crack at
I
it.
think you had a fair crack at it. Sterling Mataniu Famui, I believe, yeah, which if we got it wrong, Sterling, I'm sorry. We'll obviously familiarise ourselves with your name better once we have a chance to have a yak to the coaching staff. But, yeah, he's been picked up from the West Tigers. I think I saw Joel was talking about him in chat before. I think there was a connection to Samoa there. So I think he prefers to play 7, but he has played in the back row a little bit for the Tigers too. So a bit of positional flexibility there. But, yeah, I mean, it's an exciting addition to the squad. But, geez, he's got a fair, I don't know like where he stands in the squad in terms of the depth. It's going to be a fair team to crack though. So, you know, you hope he comes in hungry and like ready to really challenge.
Does it be SG Ball?
I think it's SG Ball because he came through. Was it Laurie Daly, Joel? I'm not sure. Let me have a quick gander.
I think he played a bit of Mats 2 years ago for Wests. So I don't know.
So he played. So Warren's saying he played Laurie Daly in 25, and Laurie Daly Cup it's under 18s. So he should still be playing because SG Ball is under 19s. He should be part of the ball setup then. Yeah. So,
yeah.
So I would say that's where he projects the play.
Now, what then this segues into is that there are junior rep trials this weekend. So if people want to get up to Kellyville, same as before Christmas, I think the times are exactly the same. 6 o'clock kickoff on Friday night for the girls for the first game, 7:30 for the second game, and then Saturday night for the boys, 6 o'clock for Mats, 7:30 for SG Ball. So it's had a look at the weather. It's not too bad. It's, I think, low 20s around kickoff time. Hopefully not too much sun in the face. Hopefully nothing like the hot conditions in that trial before Christmas for the boys. The girls played in wet conditions. A lot of drizzle about that night. It wasn't easy for the handling by the time Natasha Gale played. The boys had a lot hotter conditions. What I will say, John, and I'll repeat it before we go into the trials, these are big summer squads that have to be trimmed.
Yeah.
But all 4 teams looked infinitely more skillful, fitter, better coached than the Cronulla teams did. And historically, Cronulla have been very strong in junior rugby league.
Yeah, they've been one of the benchmark squads, especially male pathways. There have been some great tussles between the Eels and the Sharks in about the last decade, I want to say. It goes back a while now. But that's exactly what I want to hear, mate, because the Eels have made a point of their investment in the junior pathways. They've got full-time coaching appointments. They've got a lot of auxiliary or supplementary staff. So you want to hear that the Eels are ahead of the curve here at this point in the preseason. So it's, again, I was talking about this with the chat while you were out there about the expectation it's going to be on players like Lincoln Fletcher and Lorenzo Talatana this year. And we as fans don't want to burden them too much, but the reality is that, you know, Lorenzo's reigning HB Ball Player of the Year. Lincoln's been a preseason standout Australian schoolboy. There are going to be plenty of expectations. So too with the Parramatta Pathways. There is now a standard that's been asked of the Pathways where, look, you can't win every premiership every year, but you got to be one of the better squads, one of the best squads. Like that is the onus put on them as a development club now, and it's good to hear that they've turned up in the preseason hungry. And you know, just looking, it is still summer squads, right? So we don't have the cut down squads, the finalised squads, but in terms of like the returning players, there is a strong foundation for all these teams. Reigning premiers in the Lisa Fiola and the Tasha Gale. They were week 1 finals in the Harold Matthews, and obviously had the heartbreaking overtime loss to AJ's Roosters in the SG Ball Premiership. So you talk about the standards; they're pretty high this year. You got 2 reigning premiers, 9 fingers on the trophy in the SG Ball, and a Harold Matthews squad that, frankly, sort of almost sabotaged itself in the finals and had the potential to go deep into the finals. So that's where we're sort of starting from.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to grab a few words with Josh Hodgson up at the Centre of Excellence today, and I just asked him what was the timeline like for the cuts to the summer squad. And he said they might make a couple of cuts after the trial this week, but they might also leave them all till after the final trial. So they're definitely making use of the trials in their decision making, which is good to see, and that they're trying to give as many of the players as possible.
And that's something too, is that there will be other NRL clubs waiting for our cut downs. We've seen this in the last couple of years, is that there will be players that we have to make a call on and say you're in or you're out, that other clubs, Manly, the Tigers, the Bulldogs, they'll swoop in and pick up. So getting them right is going to be doubly important, but that's the nature of being one of the primary catchment clubs in the NRL.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's some exciting players to keep track of, but hopefully I'll be able to work off a team list this week, John, for the trial, but we'll see. The last thing, I don't know if you had a chance to mention this because I did have it in the run sheet, but Hindy was up there at Eels training today, and he arrived just towards the end. I think he was there mainly to catch up with Kayla. And anyway, he looks very relaxed at the moment. He was there with his youngest bloke, and I don't think Hindy's had a haircut or trimmed the beard since the season ended. He's looking rather hirsute. So the old Hindy haircut, the flowing locks are back.
Mop,
and it's matched by a flowing beard. So I'm sure he's going to end up, by the time people see him on the TV screens again, he'll probably have the hair and the beard gone. So, but I had to do a double take when he was out there on the balcony having a bit of a look, and I thought, I think that's Hindy. And so anyway, he seemed to be in a pretty good mood, and good to see him up there catching up with a mate in Kalo.
Yes.
John, I think that's about it for the Eels news. Anyone with questions in chat?
We had a few. Warren's looking forward to our junior rep potties coming back online. It's always a great addition to the annual slate, isn't it, when we can talk about the juniors. Michael asking, didn't his boys go to another club? Not that it matters. Yeah, Buster went to North Sydney, I believe. Or at least he was at North Sydney for a stretch, Craig. I'm not sure if he still is.
No, he signed a contract with Penrith.
No, but he was at North Sydney initially, and then went to signed of Penrith. So yeah, Buster's.
Yeah, I think he had it might have been the last 2 junior rep seasons with Norse. When the Eels played the Bears in this last season in SG Ball, I thought he was the best Bears player on the field. So it doesn't surprise me that he got picked up by another club. You'd think that the Bears are going to get the eye, because they tend to pick up players, first of all, that didn't make the cut at other clubs.
Yes.
And so you end up with the odd Parramatta player there at Norse and a few other clubs. And as I said, he was probably the standout on that day in their team. So if sides are going to look at, well, who's running around for North Sydney, is there anyone that we might pick up? Wasn't necessarily a surprise they picked him up.
In terms of former players, progeny, Lachlan Vella, Mick Vella's son, I believe, is still with the Eels. Been a bit unlucky of injuries, though. Poor young man has dealt with some rough injuries the last couple of years, but was pretty handy out in the centres when he was healthy. So I wonder if he'll follow his old man's path, being a centre winger all the way into the front row. Probably needs to shoot up a bit more. He's not short, but Mick's a fair bit taller, or was a fair bit taller.
Yeah, and he made the a representative team in one of the age groups too, didn't he? Like, was it City? I think
it was a City Country game. Yeah, so
City 16s. I'm thinking years back.
I think he ended up scoring a hattie in that game, maybe.
Yeah.
One of the Eels scored a hattie. But
very, very promising before he had injuries.
Yeah, just a real mongrel run of injuries.
Came back came back last season. I think it was. So he was, I think from memory, a year young for SG ball. So I think he fits in with the as a 19-year-old. I think SG ball this season.
And Michael says, I heard Cowo's son is killing for the Roosters. Yes, he's been very good for the Roosters. I'm not sure if AJ's still in chat. Yes, Eddie Cowles has been really, really handy for them. So it's interesting seeing out of the Eels' hands and saying, no, I'll give him to someone else. Maybe the Eels made a call, I don't know. But Eddie's been very good for the Roosters. And, Buster's done well enough to get a gig at the Penrith Panthers. So good to see the next generation of, Eels, I suppose, legacy players there coming through. So Joel has a player he's got his eyes on in Jai Callahan. We that's an interesting one, Joel. We've got I was just talking to Craig about this. The Harold Matts have got a glut of fullbacks right now, and we've got Cameron Bamblett in the SG ball. So, if there's a talented player out there, you always want to add him. But there are a lot of competition for spots there at fullback in the junior pathways. Ron asks, any news on the status of Chris Petrus? I don't think there's anything concerning with Petrus in terms of his availability.
No, he's earmarked for the future at the club. Absolutely. He was just, I think there was the combination of his loading with all the football and his age that he didn't.
It was a long season for him because he played reps into flag into Australian schoolboys, so a lot of football there. Going back to our new recruit Sterling, Craig, another Ron. This is Ron from Discord for me. Points out that Junior and that whole of club training day actually gave Sterling a shout out on Instagram. So obviously impressing the big Samoan tribal chief there. So doing good things there as well. I gave Warren the answer to this in chat, but just to confirm, Warren asked, are the girls playing as well in those trials? They are playing Canterbury as well in those trials, aren't they, Craig? You mentioned.
Yeah, Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night. So it's split.
It's separated into Friday night for the girls, Sunday night for the boys.
Yeah. What else we got here? So just to confirm, if you're turning 19, you are SG Ball eligible. It's an under-19s program, which is again a question for sort of coming across with Sterling. Sonic Boom says, random question, but what happened to Jaden Carter, a Kiwi recruit from Penrith last year of Bamblett? Oh, yeah, the guy that wore the goggles. Yeah, I just didn't see him at all. I know who he's talking about. I didn't see him at all on the field for us, so I'm not sure if he picked up an injury in the preseason. Maybe. Let me have a quick gander on one of my spreadsheets. I'm not sure if he's still. I mean, again, we're working with very loose notes here in terms of squad, the way the squads are filling out. But I'm not sure if he, from what I've got, if he's still with us. I would be surprised though, because there were a number of players that we've sort of just been talking about that really established themselves in those frontline playmaking positions. So I'm not sure if he's still with us, but who knows. But yeah, I know who you're talking about. I saw the pictures in terms of the sports goggles he wore, but yeah, never saw him really getting the field for us. Joel says that there's a bit of a wrap on Sterling in terms of his potential Samoan outlook there, so that's good to hear. Yeah, if he can add value to the SG Ball, I'm very keen on that one. What else we got there? Oh yeah, the Penasini extension, Jamie, and doing that for Warren. Warren's lost sound. I'm sorry, mate, but it looks like it's just you. Let me just check. Am I dropping frames?
You did this was about 2 minutes ago.
Okay, so maybe that was a little drop out there. But yeah, I don't know if you've had a chance to check it on the Will Penasini extension, Craig, but that's one of the great mysteries of Kellyville right now.
Yeah, no, I haven't had a chance to ask about what's happened with that. See if I can get an answer on Thursday. If not, I'll send a text or send a message, see if I can get an answer.
Yeah. So we'll work on it. You know what the club's like with this stuff. They it's at their own pace, but it's been for good reason in recent years.
If there's any news I can give, I think I'll put it in a training report.
Neil says Heine's still got 3 other boys though, right? Yes, he's still got a few in the arsenal if he wants to send them into rugby league. What else we got here? That's probably about it. Let's try. I probably missed someone's question, you guys. I'm sorry, but there is the other half of the podcast. You can get us in with there too. Joel's off the bed. Have a good night, mate. I don't blame you.
Is that Joel Giusti?
Yes.
Yeah, it was good to see he and Gianni last Saturday.
It's always great to see Gianni. He's a fantastic character. So always great to yak about Parramatta, Gianni. And Yeah, and I think Joel's off to the season launch too. So I'm not sure if you're going, Craig, but was it Phil that was also going? So there's going to be a few TCT representing at the season launch.
We haven't got. We've got, and we even have our TCT representative ready to go for Lennox Head as well.
Yes.
Week for training.
For the
So
training camp up there. Yep, we've got eyes everywhere. You know, they're going to start calling us the CIA for rugby league. Yeah. Get the pigeons.
Okay, mate, I think we're ready for your musical interlude.
Yeah, a bit of a quirky offbeat one here, and I think Ron will appreciate it, Supreme Leader Ron. But in honour of Max Popo re-signing, there was it's not quite South Park Simpsons did it sort of energy, but there is a little jingle from The Simpsons that fits pretty well for this one. And you just got to tweak your ears a little bit to turn Popo into a different word. But I'm hoping that we can start banging this one out when he makes his NRL debut for the Eels.
Max Power, he's the man whose name you'd love to touch, but you mustn't touch. His name sounds good in your ear, but when you say it, you mustn't fear, 'cause his name can be said
Dulcet tones of Homer
by
Simpson.
anyone.
Max Power knows every little thing.
You remembered my name.
Well, who could forget the name of a magnetic individual like you? Keep up the good work, Max.
Mr. Power.
Yes, of course, Mr. Power.
Remember the name, Mr. Popo, Max Popo.
Mate, I'm sure AI has to be able to do something.
Oh,
with
there's no doubt.
You can fiddle around.
We'll be able
with
to
it.
turn that into a Max Popo tune, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
So yeah, there's plenty of things to grumble about with AI, but it's fun stuff like that. It's pretty handy for.
I must say, mate, I'm getting sick of some of the videos that are put together where they pretend that it's real and think that's, being really clever. I'm a bit over it. But anyway, we'll move on. Is it any surprise that the club coaches have pushed back to that kickoff rule?
It's almost like a. I know it's in solidarity, but there's just an element of begging to it. Like, just please stop changing the rules. Just for 1 year, just stop changing the rules. But yeah, the clubs have put out a unified statement pushing back against the constant rule changes, against the kickoff change in particular here. There was a pretty strong, hey, if you want to change the rules, can we please go back to trialling it in reserve grade or at least in dead rubber games at the end of the season? And yeah, look, I can't blame him, Craig. It certainly echoes a strong element of fan sentiment. I'm sure there are some fans that outright be like, yeah, more change, make it exciting. But I feel like it's not necessarily the rugby league purists. It's just that you can change the game. Like, there are tweaks you can make to better the product. Well, I'm not saying the rugby league's perfect, but we have had some aggressive, seismic changes to the game. The introduction to the six again, like that is literally, you could do statistics pre and post six again. It's like BC, AD, or, common era before common era in a more modern sense. That literally splits the game into how it was played because of how impactful six agains are to the flow of the game, to how, coaches and players approach the game. And the NRL wants to double down on the six agains. We spoke about it in the podcast last week, but clubs are obviously getting fatigued with it. They're pushing back against the kickoff changes. They're asking for, a bit of an actual testing period instead of rushing, willy-nilly into these changes. I think it wasn't wholesale pushback on the rules, by the way. I think they were amendable to the extended bench and the 20-metre restart rule, I think. At least that was how I read it. Is that like they weren't like saying all these rules are stupid or all these rules don't need to be rushed in. But yeah. And look, Jetta, I agree with you, mate. Six again's been a real pain point for a lot of fans. It's one of those ones that on paper seems like a pretty solid idea. Like, let's speed up the game. We're not going to have all these stoppages, not going to have all these kick for touches, going to take away some of the ability to move field position instantly off a penalty and just have a reset the tackle count. But instead, we've got the mess that we have right here. And like Lisa said, PFL is not backing down yet. And
oh, no, did you? This is his statement.
Yeah, I knew you were going to get to that. Yeah, so take it away.
Yeah. We had 137 million viewers in 2019 before we changed the rules. The six again set restarts. Now we've got 224 million viewers. Our attendances and viewership have increased dramatically because the game is faster and more exciting. Is he ignoring the different platforms that the game is available on? Is he ignoring the bounce back from COVID?
Exactly. Like there is citing stats is always a usually an important reference point, but there is a reason. It's lies and damn numbers or lies and damn statistics. It's like, what is the context of this? Like, there's been an explosion in digital consumption of media in general, year on year. So with KO and a few other platforms internationally, has the game just seen inline growth with other codes in general? Like, the NRL's growth in those numbers, what does it compare to with the AFL? What does it compare to with cricket? Like, it's not necessarily a one-to-one code comparison, but if sports in general are growing at the same rate digitally, and the NRL has done the same inline with other codes, then that is not a data point that suggests that the rule changes were why we had an explosion in consumption. It's just that people consuming more media in general. So yeah, there's definitely nuance to those numbers that he's put out there. I think it's just telling that again, the general fan's not going to complain about nuanced takes of the game because they just consumed the code regardless. I think that there's been a big pushback with set restarts among the core audience of rugby league, and the fact that they want to expand on it and double down on it is frustrating because it feels like this is your vision of the game, not the stakeholders' vision of the game, and you're really trying to go through with it.
Yeah, and I think as well, because I'm sure he's talking about the game's faster to watch, but that also has a lot to do with the way that the game has evolved, not necessarily from the rule changes, but coaches are deliberately playing a faster game these days. And anyone that's gone and watched the Eels train, the speed of their play has nothing to do with having a set restart call. It's that a set restart might allow a team to really drive home an attacking advantage that they've received from that set restart. But the game was being played faster anyway. We've seen that the evolution, as in one example, of the lock forward from being another prop forward basically on the field to being an additional playmaker. And that's seen lighter, faster locks in the prototype of what's his name from South?
Cam Murray?
Captain Cam Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he was sort of that prototype lightweight lock playing as a ball player. We've got Dylan Walker playing in a similar role for the Eels. So it may well be that Riley Smith plays a little bit of a similar role at an even lighter weight when he interchanges with Talon De Silva. So, yeah, Peter V'landys is not someone who's going to back down on anything.
No, I mean, that's part of the appeal of the code having recruiting him is that he is going to, almost like a bullfrog, puff his chest out and not stand down in that regard. He is a hard taskmaster. He is, opinionated and stands by his opinions. But I think that there needs to be some nuance here. Like, you can't just force rugby league down this pathway. And obviously he feels validated. He's saying that the numbers back us, but again, show me the context behind those stats. Like, again, has AFL seen similar growth in general? In which case, that your rule changes don't mean that the NRL were successful because of it. Because again, you look at our chat. You look at you go to the average pundit that attends a game, and there is going to be grumbles about the Six again because how inconsistent is it officiated, how much pressure it puts on the officials to make a split-second judgment call and try and be consistent or not be consistent. Like, that's the thing, is that it forces inconsistency into the hands of the officials, which then earns the ire of the attending fans and the watching fans. And like we said, it honestly feels like the officials are being put in a position not to succeed. So I understand why people will be upset about this one. I understand why clubs are frustrated, especially because it's year-on-year changes. It's not, this is our block of rule changes for the next 3 years. Let's see how things play out, and we can tweak it a little bit if we have to, but this is the next block of how we play the game. It is 2024 is played this way, 2025 is played that way, 2026 is going to be played a different way because of a year-on-year rule change. And yeah, I agree, Paul. PVL is not always right, even though he likes to think he is. No one. I mean, that is just a truism of the world in general, isn't it? Like, the smartest person can always be wrong, in terms of experience and wisdom and whatnot. So, yeah, it's going to be a real stalemate between these two things because you've got, voices like I saw in chat, Wayne Bennett's been really vocal about the supporting the kickoff rule, which is the pain point here for a lot of other clubs. Yeah, I don't know. Matt John's been. I don't know if you saw the article, but Phil pointed out that Matt John's saying, "Get your 10 learn how to tackle." If you don't like how the rules are right now, with the swings of possession. Yeah.
Let's move on, John. The most extraordinary thing, seeing Manly advertising for housing for young Zadis Moaga Tutia.
Outstanding young prospect, like a guy that's almost certainly going to get the first grade at dummy half. Can play lock forward too. He's a big dynamic runner of the ball. Was one of those ones we talk about keeping juniors. Manly did a good job maybe not getting under a guard. There was a number of priority juniors at the time that we had to make a decision on, and they aggressively went after Zadis. So here's
didn't he come via Canterbury first, and then I'm sure he went to Canterbury first, and Manly's got him from Canterbury.
There was a lot of confusion about who signed him initially. I think with and I'm not sure if it was just Manly outright.
There was a real battle because I think the Dragons were chasing him heavily. I think Manly were chasing him. Then he played. I'm sure he was playing at Canterbury with his older brother.
Yeah.
And then last year he went to Manly. 2025. I'm sure 2024 he was a Bulldog. I'm near positive with that. But anyway,
it looks like that's the timeline. You're right. So So he's ended up at Manly, and that's the important part of his story. And we've mentioned that the Parramatta Eels have underneath their main Para Eels handle on Instagram, on Twitter or X, on TikTok, there are sub accounts like you have Para Eels Juniors, Para Eels Careers. Manly have similar, like all teams have this. I think it was the Manly Seagulls Careers handle that was out there posting like, can someone please house our young player sort of thing out there. Like if anyone in Northern Beaches has a spare room or a studio that they could rent out to Zadis, please get in contact with us. Which is absolutely wild, Craig. Like, you're a professional organisation. How are you not got connects with like any sort of renting like organisation with real estate organisations, even internally, like having some sort of like we had the Para House or whatnot to advertise publicly for that. You keep that stuff in house. Like that is wild that they put that on socials.
Yeah, you almost feel like it's a joke, don't you? It just feels so wildly amateur. So if it's the real thing, and we assume it is the real thing, there you go. They have to advertise to get accommodation for one of their most promising players coming through the system.
Yeah, we're doing like a blue chip like talent here. So, and again, Parramatta's made their own faux pas in the past, no doubt. It's just like in the social media age, I don't feel you should be posting that sort of thing. Like, contact a real estate agent, contact some sort of housing management group. I'm sure there's like a strata management group that could easily like put them in line with like a reasonable piece of real estate to rent out as an organisation or for the young man himself. So yeah, funny little bit of social media, and for Zadis Sisseko, if he finds a home.
And just moving on, John, the Bears, they've added a couple of more recruits, and they're hitting the storm.
Probably, after raiding Parramatta for Sean Russell, they turned their eyes south of the border. Probably their most successful recruitment drive yet, adding a pair of Melbourne players. Nick Meaney, very versatile back, can play obviously fullback, wing, centre, even 5'8", very handy goal kicker too. And then talking about utility value, Tyran Wishart, long speculated to be a cap casualty for the Storm, given his versatility and ability to start or play off the bench. I think he got a 5-year deal with Perth. I haven't seen the details, but I saw someone talking about that. So a couple of big add-ons there for the Bears. And like I said, probably their best pair of value signings in general. Still lacking the build-around players. That's my big criticism of their recruitment so far, Craig.
I think so too. And it looks to me like you're going to have they haven't signed a dummy half of any note yet, have they?
So you would assume that Wishart goes into number 9 as it stands.
That's what I'd be thinking, and that might be as close as they will get to having a quality number 9. But the cost with that is that is his best value coming off the interchange?
That's the big question, isn't it? Can he step up and be a starting number 9? I think he showed enough at Melbourne. And again, the caveat always is it was at Melbourne, and not all players can find that same value at other venues or other clubs. But
I bet they found the right value for their contracts.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt that they've got pretty handsome. We haven't seen the particulars, but this is a case of Perth, needing to sign players. So on top of that, I didn't put it on the run sheet, Craig, for you, but there was a couple other auxiliary signings they made. James McDonald from England and Chris Vieira, I believe, from Cronulla, if I'm not mistaken, when I was looking at this one here.
Yeah, I think he might have played one NRL game. Cronulla played.
So a bit more depth there. So the Cronulla player, I believe, was part of their backline depth there, which unfortunately opens up a pathway spot for Michael Gabriel out at the Shire potentially if they can move on from Jesse Ramian. So that's a bit more depth there for the Bears. But again, while I give them credit for some solid signings here, they are still lacking a build-around player. And I think NRL 9, Channel 9 social media platform there, put out a prospective team list for the Bears. You can check this one out. I guess it's Instagram. Looking at the format here, you can go find it there. But their prospective Bears team list right now is Nick Meaney at fullback, Harry Newman on the wings, Sean Russell on the other wing, no centres, Tyran Wishart starting at 6. I would put him at 9, like you said. Partnering Toby Sexton, Isaac Fa'amasulawali and Liam Henry starting bookends. No number 9 because Wishart starting in the halves. Marley Bitugani and Luke Smith on the edges and Josh Curran lock forward, no bench. So I mean, they've got a lot of work to do still. A lot of work. That back line's actually got a bit of, Meaney and Russell. Meaney and Russell are the makings of a solid back line if you can get some more guys there. They're both good players, just good value players. Sexton's an okay halfback. Wishart's a good utility, maybe starting number 9. That forward pack is pretty dire though. So they need some big signings.
See, the way that I see it is that both Meaney and Russell are good NRL players. They're not going to be game breakers as such.
They're solid week on week players.
Clubs.
Yeah,
they're players that, let's face it, Nick Meaney was doing a job at Melbourne. He would play wherever they needed him to play in the back line. And because he was versatile enough, he could play fullback. He could play centre. He could play wing. So he had those outside backs position covered, but primarily centre or fullback. And although he was never seen in the same room as Mitch Moses, he was an integral part of the Melbourne lineup because Melbourne make very, very good use of players who are good NRL players, and they have enough elite players around them to maximise their potential. And to me, it's almost like the Parramatta team of the 80s, where you had those core outstanding internationals at Parramatta, and whether it's Gibson or Mooney, they could bring in a player who was probably a regular reserve grade player, and they would come up and they would look pretty good in first grade when they were coming up and playing for a game or two or a string of games. But what we ended up seeing was some of them were pinched by other clubs and went to other clubs, just did not shine at all. A number of them then became first graders as we started to get injuries and players retiring after 86. We saw what the result was.
Yeah.
We didn't have a run of players like we did with all those talented juniors that came in.
The fall off comes eventually. It's going to happen to Penrith. It happened to Parramatta. Like it's just like you get picked up, like your eyes get picked out of enough that it happens. AJ in reference to the Bears was pointing out that they might explore the English path with the Super League. They got that direct.
Well, they what have they picked up? 2 players.
They got a couple of players there already.
Both from Leeds.
Maybe both from Leeds. Yeah, maybe. So
I've got a feeling they're both from Leeds. I'm sure BA will be happy.
So he didn't get the coaching gig, but ended up feeding them a few players anyway. But they got that direct flight there from Perth to London. So that's absolutely an option for them. And I think they probably have to. I think that's there's just NRL teams have locked up a lot of their premium talent, and this isn't an American style expansion draft where you can protect a few players and then everyone else becomes available. Both in the Rhinos. Thanks, AJ. So they got to find ways around it, and you can get cup players, you can get juniors, you can get fringe players, but they need as much first grade season players as possible. So ESL absolutely an option there for Perth. Michael Arsis is race own still at the Dolphins. I saw he was off contract end of last year. I think that was a signings portal faux pas, Michael. I just checked. I put it in chat for you, but I checked, and he's still contracted for 26. So he is a free agent end of year, and can sign for someone right now. Still contracted to the Dolphins. Josh, if the Ashes are anything to go by, they might be better off picking players out of Ron Massey. Oh Lord, good comment. So that's where the Bears are at. There was a little. I didn't put it on the run sheet, but there were some other minor signings movements this week. I think South picked up. Where is it? South picked up from Newcastle. What's his name?
Dylan Brown.
Dylan Brown. Where is it gone? I had the notes put here. Adam Elliott. So there's a bit.
Yes, I did see that.
One year deal for Elliott there to South Sydney. Solid addition to the. I mean, Elliott's probably best days are behind him here, but he's still a solid NRL player. Gives him another front, first grade player in the lock forward position, and they were a bit
the minimum deal, contract,
and they were a bit skinny up front in 25. I know they had injuries, but their pack was a bit skinny up front, so they needed to bolster it some way. The Hog, yes, for everyone that's familiar with the Mad Monday story there. I was saying to the boys, it's peak off season when you get the big puff piece articles about new recruits to clubs, and I don't know if you saw it, but there was nothing wrong with it. But Kai Pierce-Ball had the big wrap up about wanting to follow in the footsteps of the other English greats at the Tigers. And to be fair to the Tigers, they've had some great English players, and probably the most recent one. The Bateman didn't work out too well for him, but Gareth Hock was a phenomenal back row for them. It was a real pleasure to watch him. But Ellery Hanley. I'm probably missing some people there in between, but my dad always speaks about Ellery Hanley and the way he played the game and how big a deal it was when he got taken out of that game in the final, and how much it turned the contest there. So they've actually got a pedigree of some great English players.
Is it Curry or Curran or but there was an English centre, I'm sure, that was at the Tigers as well in that same sort of era, maybe the year after. But I'm sure there was an English centre.
Gary Schofield, good shout.
Sorry?
Oh, Gareth Ellis, sorry, Gareth. Gary Schofield was. I said Gareth Hockers. Gareth Ellis, I meant. Yeah. He was an awesome player. But a couple people in chat. Aaron Field pointed out Gary Schofield, great player. Andy Currier.
Andy Currier, that's it.
Currier. And then Tony Mailer as well. AJ's got all the data points.
Oh,
what a legend!
What year was Currier? I just had in my head that he played in finals football.
Let's see if I can beat AJ. I've got him here in the NRL. Let's see there. New South Wales Rugby League. No, Gareth and Hockey.
AJ's probably memorised the Rugby League project. He's a contributor there. He's probably committed it to memory.
Oh, that was the NRL there. 89 to 90, he says, and I can confirm it's 89 to 90, yeah. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it in my head that he was playing.
Scored a few tries, it looks like. Kicked a few goals as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good player. Good player.
Gareth Ellis was a great player, though, by the way. Unlike Hock, he actually turned up and was a great player for the Tigers. When you said Hock, I'm like thinking, doesn't quite sound right. Doesn't quite sound right. So he's he played how many years for the Tigers? Where have I got here? I've got him down from 09 to 12. Yeah, he was part of that when we had that dueling run for the Tigers in 2009. He was great. So yeah, he played 4 years for the Tigers. So it feels like his legacy was bigger than that, but he was very good when he was here. No Lee Mossop, no Gareth Hock, that's for sure, Ron.
No.
Lee Mossop, I know everyone jokes about Gareth Hock, when's he going to arrive? Lee Mossop coming, talking shit about the NRL and how the Super League was tougher, and then getting injured the first game he played is like the just peak parrot of that era for me. Like, that is some of the most darkly funny shit you'll ever see. Oh, God.
Okay, moving on before we get to some final questions. Of course, it's a little bit of sad news that Paul Kent has announced that he's suffering from cancer.
Yeah, throat cancer.
Throat
cancer. Yeah, the lymph nodes in his throat. So it's yeah. Look, Kenny's a contrarian. He's a provocateur. He obviously had that incident that led to him getting dismissed from Fox. So he's got a colourful and checkered history in the game. But cancer shit, it's just shit, isn't it? So yeah, wish him a good fight for cancer, a speedy recovery, and getting put into remission ASAP. For all the dumb stuff he's done, I think he actually has some decent opinions on the game when he actually wants to. He's actually got some good insights. So hopefully he has a speedy recovery.
Yeah, he was doing a podcast last year.
He actually had a pretty solid podcast happening. What was it? I'm sure someone in chat will get to me before I can Google it.
Yeah, I was watching bits and pieces of it during the year.
Is it just Kenty? Or was it something else? Because he put the tree as the logo, which I thought was like freaking hilarious. Like, that was actually like that. That's the sort of shit you got to do when you make a big screw up like that. Like, own it and turn it into a funny thing.
One of the things that I saw on a social media post was there was someone that was just giving him absolute hell at a pub. Like, he was sitting there trying to have a beer, and this person was just like abusing him or what have you. And I think they posted it themselves of them having a go. And I thought, you know what? It said more about him with the restraint that he had than the person who was looking for kudos immediately for ripping into someone.
Yeah.
Who is just at the pub trying to just relax.
Yeah. So it was the Kenty Blitz and Kenty Primetime. He has two podcast playlists there. Yeah.
Yeah. So. And look, as you said, I thought his opinions, for the most part, it was hard to argue with. Like,
when he wasn't like, as the young kids would say.
A few years back, John, I was really railing against some of his opinions about Parramatta, but some of those opinions in those particular years turned out to be
Look, when he wasn't, as the young kids would say, deliberately rage baiting, when he wasn't being a provocateur and taking the devil's advocate stance to just bait and force engagement, he actually had some good thoughts. And I do think that R360, I suppose it is R360, regularly 360, but NRL 360, its best era was Eichen and Kent. Like, that was the best balance of discussion they had there. And Eichen's obviously moved on to football administration, and Kent had the run-in with the tree and some other stuff. But yeah, hopefully he makes like Josh said, having some shit opinions and a run-in for tree doesn't mean you deserve cancer. Exactly, mate. Exactly. So hopefully Kenty can make a full recovery. Honestly, fuck cancer. Like, that is fuck cancer. Like, that, it just sucks. So
you're working blue now.
Oh, when it comes to cancer, mate, you can drop the F-bombs. It is just shit. My old man dealt with throat cancer going way back, and he's still on supplementary medicines now because he had his thyroids removed. And I assume that's what's going to happen to Kent because it's a lymph nodes as well. Assuming he gets through, so he'll be on, I think it's Thyroxine or something like that for the rest of his life. But you hope he can just get through it okay, and then just have a good story.
And John, this brings us now to any final questions from chat.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. So we had some people talking about Kent there. The BGA podcast, Boogon podcast, says, in your opinion, will Howarth be a better goal kicker than Jonah Pezzett? Well, we've got to get Jack Howarth first, I guess. Does Jack Howarth kick goals?
I know Peasant's been kicking goals up at
I would assume he'd be the direct backup to Mitchell Moses, if not maybe the 1A. It depends if they want Moses to be direct dealing with the team in a post try scoring situation. I don't know, but yeah, we got to wait for Jack Half to be maybe have a better potential transfer to Parramatta than a Buzz Rothfield tweet still. Some Gareth Hock memes deserved. I deserved that. And then AJ saying that you have a lot of cup players with the North Bears and Brisbane Tigers affiliation who they signed up replacing Melbourne. Yeah, the Bears having tendrils in both New South Wales Cup and Q Cup make a lot of sense. They're going to need as fertile a nursery as possible in those two competitions.
Yep.
I answered the Ray Stone question. Jamie reckons the Bears will sign Ryan Pappenhausen before end of year. I could see that. I could see Ryan Pappenhausen maybe taking some time off from the game, get himself in a better place physically and mentally, and then getting back into it. Certainly would help them at fullback. I think that's wouldn't be a shock there. I saw someone, Ron, saying, we're going to re-sign Dill Walker. He's a gun and can help Guy develop as a lock. You got to imagine the club's in the process of maybe finagling some sort of negotiation with Dylan Walker.
Oh, surely an extra year or two.
And speaking of, Charlie Goma off contract too, so hopefully we can get on top of that as well. I think
Charlie is in getting that yellow shirt. That's a reflection of the sort of preseason that he's had. In all seriousness, John, I wouldn't like to be Jason Riles trying to pick the pack.
Matt Dory has multiple gold jerseys. Yeah, Matt Dory has multiple gold jerseys. Sam Tuivati's picked up pretty much all the jerseys, I think. He's gotten a few different jerseys for the preseason. Charlie Guymer's killing it. You can't, like, you've got Kelma Tuolangi, Jack Williams, and Gideon Katonga all deserving of starting on the edges. You only got 2 starting spots. So how you judge, like, the back line pretty much sorts itself out. Obviously, you're going to have the question about can Brian Kelly rise up and force his way into the conversation. That's cool. You want to see that. That sort of, that's a separate matter in the coming weeks going to deal with. But the forward pack and the bench is just, it's a nightmare in the best possible way. Like, this is the sort of nightmare you want to have. And I know that injuries and the preseason trials of some of the players getting knocked, banged up there will filter some of this conversation. But good Lord, like Jetta says, it's a good headache to have for Rilesy. It is. But he might lose some sleep over some of these team selections. He's going to feel so bad leaving some of these players out, assuming that everyone's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. John, I don't think I can express to you how much I think both Charlie Guymer and Matt Dury have thrived in this preseason. In all seriousness, like they Matt Dury looks like a different player. He really does. He's it's probably the best run in a preseason that he's had in terms of his fitness. He looks in outstanding shape, but we're seeing different aspects to his game develop. Charlie Guymer is just an out-and-out footballer. He's the epitome of that really tough country kid.
Yeah, of course. He's a Tamora boy too.
Yeah. It's extraordinary what that town's produced.
Oh, ridiculous! And
first grade players.
When we were playing the Dragons, Craig, we had the crew from Tamora in Sterlos, and they were there to support Charlie and I think one of the St. George boys as well. So good travelling crew there as well. And the amount of quality rugby league players they've produced is ridiculous. So, Jamie asked how the Italian stallion Moretti going. He wasn't training the day I attended last week, Thursday.
No, he's been in rehab. I could guess at to what it actually is, but I don't want to speculate on that. But he's come back. He had been a recipient. He must have picked up a niggle in his break even, or in the last session, because he was a recipient of the green shirt.
That's right, yeah. On the day I attended.
From his work that he did before Christmas. but has been doing rehab last week and this week. So
look,
yeah,
and that is why having depth is so important. That someone like Luca doesn't need to be rushed back, and doesn't need to put himself behind schedule by rushing back. So I think he's one of those players. You don't call him a bubble player because he's shown that he can be a very good first grader for us, but he is one of those guys that will have to fight his way back in the team if he's injured, and that might be one of those players that might help streamline the equation a little bit for Riles in the first few weeks if he is still niggled or injured. But if Luca gets back to fitness, he'll be right there in the equation. So, a bit of love there for Charlie and for Matt Dory in chat, which you love to see. Josh says he hates to see us lose Guymer. Yeah, we like the work we've put into Charlie, and again, this is not just us; it's Charlie doing all the work himself. But where the club's gotten to Charlie now, he's like prized to take over from someone like Dylan Walker long term. So you do want to see him, recommit to the Bull and Gold. But he's a good, tough player, and you can see the background he has as both a back in the centres and as a half before that, with how he can handle the football through the middle. So got that cerebral nature to his game to be a good lock forward. Can play on the edges too, which is really handy. Phil says RCG named captain of the London Broncos. There you go. Out of the Titans and then captain in London. That's not a surprise though. RCG has always been a real leader, more so by actions, I guess, than words. But for a team like the Broncos, getting a player like RCG is a real luxury, and he'll be a big part of that franchise, hopefully being competitive. The London Broncos have struggled for relevancy long term.
They're still at the second tier, aren't
I
they?
believe they're still second tier, yeah. At least, I mean, AJ might still be in chat, but my understanding was they were still second tier when they recruited him.
Yes, they were surprised. A surprise non-promoted team. I think they expected.
Yes, on the
London presence in the Super League.
On the back of the investment from Lockyer and Co, and then the recruitment that they would get a favourable look on for promotion.
But it didn't happen.
Got a moth just flying around. Sorry. What else we got here? What was it? Oh, Michael says there was a rumour that we were going to lose. You said weren't. I said were, I guess. Going to lose the forward to Newcastle because he was going to struggle to make our first grade team. I don't know if you heard that, Craig.
Yeah, I had it sent to me. The rumour was Luca. I hadn't heard anything around the club. I haven't had a chance to see if there was anything behind that. But if that's the case, it would be surprising as with that being the basis of it, because the season hasn't started. You don't know, is he going to, if he's thinking he's going to struggle, that would be his own mind set that's saying, I'm going to struggle to make the first grade team.
Yeah.
So, but who knows? If you're offered a contract which is significantly more than what you're on at the Eels, it's going to be hard if you're a fringe player to hold on to it. I mean, we had someone who's become a regular first grader in Sean Russell, and he got a bigger, longer contract.
The financial between
the Bears.
The Newcastle Knights offering big money for Luca seems a bit dubious, but it wouldn't be the first creative accounting I've seen when it comes. Let me just check Luca's status. Again, the NRL signings portal isn't always super consistent here, but Luca Moretti is contracted at the end of 27. So, yeah, it would be conditional on the Eels releasing him. So, I'm not really big on the socials there, Craig, so that was the first I'd heard that rumour. Neil says, I heard Justin Horner on his podcast talking about how much Mitchell Moses rates Guymer and thinks he has a long NRL career in front of him. I'd heard that too, obviously not just for the podcast. That is something that's popped up a few times, is a lot of the old heads in the team do rate Charlie, and that's not a surprise. He plays beyond his years.
And the coaches rate him too. So
yeah, exactly. He's getting plenty of runs in the A team, in the NRL team, and again, I don't know how you fit them all into the 17 or the game day 19 if we do end up getting the expanded benches, but the game day 19 will certainly help. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
What else we got here? Yeah, Josh saying, do you have any dollars left after Dale Quinn at the Newcastle National Bank? Yep. I don't know. I think I'll just have a quick gander to see if there's any breaking news, but you know how it goes. We're going to put this podcast, or it's out already, but we're going to put it up on SoundCloud, tomorrow, and then the breaking news will come. So yeah, it looks like it's about it. It's not there. We talked about that. There is some speculation about where Trey Fuller might end up. He's a decent, he's in that sort of like, he's a first grader, kind of fringe first grader, but fullback is such a competitive position in the NRL. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but Fox Sports did their top 25 under 25? What is it here? It is, the top 25 players under 25. I don't know if you want to run through that or you want to wrap it up.
Look, let's wrap that up. We might have a look at that next week.
It's classic engagement bait. You'll love it.
Yeah. Once that Pandora's box is open, then it's going to be. It's just going to be on for young and old. There'll be too many opinions. When you're talking about 25 players, and we've got another hour for the podcast. Yeah. That would be the issue. John, look, I also wanted to give a bit of a quick shout out to one of our newer followers, Con, who I met up at Eels training the other week. He sent me his thoughts on fan engagement, and might even become a basis of a post. I forwarded it on to the Eels, as a matter of fact, what he's had to say, and because I thought it was very well articulated, and so just shout out to you, Con, if you're listening. Really appreciate your input and support of TCT. And that just brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you, everyone who's been here live in chat. Thank you to everyone who's listening on delay or watching this on YouTube,
SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, all the platforms that we're on. Thank you. That's greatly appreciated.
If again, it needs to be repeated, but if you can give it a like and subscribe, but especially that subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you know that you're going to get notified when any new video goes up on YouTube. We're trying to get to that. We're not too far away from the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. It'd be great to get there by the start of the preseason. Don't forget, once we get to sorry, I said the start of the preseason, the start of the season proper. Once we get to the season proper, we'll be up to four podcasts a week at least. So the content's going to be there. Don't forget as well, if you're someone who is a super coach fanatic and you'd love to get involved with TCT and provide a weekly post about that, be it your tips for ins or outs of a super coach team, your ratings of the players, the value that they offer. If you want to get involved and commit to the full season, just get in touch with us. That'd be great to hear from you. We're looking at a couple of different things here and there for the content this year, and being able to look into Super League for the people that enjoy playing it is just one of those areas. John, again, also a thank you to our sponsors, Star Partners Real Estate, Auburn, Narellan and Parramatta, and of course, the Parramatta Leagues Club, the home of the Eels. And we'll, again, hopeful of being there this year. I'm sure we'll be part of match day with our live appearance in Parramatta Leagues Club, and really looking forward to that. And apart from that, John, thank you. And as I always say, go you mighty Eels.
Alrighty. Good stuff, mate.
The